Hi, I'm Rachel Tessman from StampYourArtOut.com, and today I'd like to share with you some of my alternate project ideas that I created using the contents of the June 2018 paper pumpkin kit from Stampin' Up! Titled Broadway Star. This kit came straight to my mailbox and contained all the papers, envelopes, adhesives, stickers, and embellishments that I needed to make 4 of each of these glamorous greeting cards. All I needed to provide was my clear block to mount and use my stamps. You get a free one with your first kit. My scissors, and about 30 minutes of my time. Stampin' Up! Also provides a mini publication with photos, written directions, supplies and tips, and shares a how-to video for each and every kit. One of the best perks of being a subscriber month after month is that you eventually build up a great collection of inks and stamp sets that you can use with other cards and projects in the future. These kits are a Stampin' Up! Product, so the colors, images, and supplies coordinate with many other Stampin' Up! Products. In fact, this June kit coordinates with a whole suite of products called Broadway Bound in the 2018 through 19 annual catalog. I'll be using some of these and a few extra supplies as I share my unique projects. You can find these items listed below and linked to my online store. You can also look below for links to learning more about paper pumpkin kits, starting a subscription, renewing your subscription, joining my awesome Paper Pumpkin fan club on Facebook, and seeing peeks to some exclusives that I send my subscribers. If you're watching my video on YouTube, you can also click on the link below that will lead you to my website where I've shared close-up photos of what I'll be sharing today. So let's get started. For those of you that want to replicate the cards, make them as the kit intends, I just have a few tips for you. For this white banner, when you're stamping, here, I'm just going to grab a scrap piece of white that's similar in size here. When you're stamping that star stamp to ink it up and decorate it, you'll want to kind of go in the same direction. And then you'll want to stagger that large star that's in there. You'll want to stagger that in between your other large stars that you just stamped in the row above. And that will give you a very nice, clean pattern all the way through. And don't be afraid to stamp off the edge too. Another tip that I have for you, and actually it's basically a heads up, on your brochure it shows a black marquee behind this hooray on that card here, but in the kit you receive one that's black and white. In the video, the how-to video, they share the correct one. So you do not want to stick this on top because this piece will be used for your other card on that one. Then when you are stamping your sentiments, if you can take your white strip out of your paper, punch it out first, you're going to get a better you're going to get your words to line up a lot better because you're going to have that outline of the strip. You're going to be able to see it better. So this one, as you can see, is much better centered than the one I stamped when it was against a white background. It's slightly off on this one. And you'll also notice that I got 2 sentiments from 1 strip of white. So you can save your white strips for something else if you can get 2 on 1 like I did for these 2 cards here. My advice on the twine for this card is when you flip your black over to add your twine, you only need to have about 4 inches on one side and 4 inches on the other. That will save you lots of twine to use on other projects. So you can basically just do a little loop like that on each end and you're good to go. And then on this one here, when you tie your twine into a bow, first tie a knot. With twine, you don't have to worry about too much bulk. Go ahead and make a knot first and then do the bow. Okay, another tip that I have, on this card, actually you can see it better on this one. When you press down to mail it, the little stickers, the hooray sticker, presses onto the paper because it sits off the edge of your marquee. And so if you want to avoid your stickers on the edges here being sticky, you can use an embossing buddy on the back. It just releases a nice little powder and you can tap that on the back side of the word hooray on the edges before you stick your marquee down on your paper. And then the last thing I have for you is if you're going to be putting pearls around like that, you don't actually have to because the marquee already has white circles, but if you want to have dimension and add those pearls, then stick your sticker down first and make it hide some of those white circles, and then you can use less of your pearls all the way around so that you have extra pearls in the end to do with other projects. I'm all about saving. The first project is a very quick and simple one, but before I start, I just want to mention that the clear block that you get in your first kit, the ink spot, the glue dots, I set those aside in my videos and I use the Stampin' Up! Glue dots, the larger ink pads, and then my ergonomic blocks. So you'll notice that change when I'm doing my video, but just know that you don't have to have those extra things in order to do these projects. So we're going to start by peeling away the sticker from the sticker sheet. You want to kind of just lift up the edges, use both hands. Sometimes you'll need to put your paper snips or a pokey tool in there to make sure that all the little insides of your letters come off. And once you've removed that sticker, you're going to go ahead and lay it down on your marquee. And again, if you are putting pearls on this, which I actually don't recommend on this project, but if you are going to, just kind of you know, be wise about where you're sticking that letter down. And as you can see, I covered up quite a few of those little dots. So those of you that want to replicate that so that you can use fewer pearls on your card, you can do it that way. Then you're going to flip it over and you're going to pounce. This is when you would pounce the embossing buddy on the back side, just to get rid of any stickiness there. And on the front side, we're going to go ahead and add a sentiment. And I put some dimensionals on the back side of that so that this pops out a bit, and I'm just going to add that right across the bottom. So it's very similar to the design that you have when you make this card, but I don't want to add the pearls because I don't want to risk them falling off. We're going to go ahead and flip that over and set that aside for a minute. We're going to pull in another marquee, and this one we're going to put dimensionals on the back side of one of the cakes. And then I brought out a couple skewers from my kitchen. And you could either use 2 like that, or you can use 1. I'm just going to use 1, but if you want it to be really stable, you can use 2. And you're just going to put down a little bit of adhesive. You can use the glue dots in the kit again, but just place that down just so that you kind of have it being held in place. And then you're going to use some of the dimensionals to add to the side of each of these. And then put a couple dimensionals on the outside as well. I noticed that I didn't have quite enough adhesive through the middle there, so I added a little bit more. And I also noticed that my skewers are thick, so we're going to go ahead and add dimensionals that are twice as high. And then put a little bit of adhesive down the middle and lay that right on top, like that. One more thing that we're going to do is tie a little bit of twine around the underside or the base of the sign. 2 dimensionals made it a little bit too high, so I actually had to undo this side here. I put a few glue dots around the top of my skewer because glue dots are a little stickier. And we're just going to stick that inside here between the dimensionals and stick it back down. Shift the bow. And for that party, you could stick this in a cake, you could stick it in a vat of potato salad, you could put it wherever it's going to sit. And it's just fun and festive and says, yay. And that's the reason why we didn't put pearls on here, because if you put pearls on here, then they might fall off into the food and then somebody's eating a pearl, and that could be bad. So anyways, that is your fun little, I'm going to call it my cake topper. Okay, let's do the next project. Have you seen these fun cookie straws that are out there? I believe this one is from Starbucks. My friend and fellow demonstrator Sue Dias made this cute, adorable gift for me once. And I have been working off camera to remove this. So it's on there with some really strong adhesive. I'm guessing our tear and tape adhesive. And we're going to decorate this cookie straw now with some contents from the June kit. So I'm going to take one of these card bases and I'm going to slice it in half. with my paper trimmer, which I've done already. So we're gonna go ahead and just use one of those. We'll set the rest aside. And we're gonna also be using some twine from the kit, stamp images, one of the white tags, some dimensionals, one of the cakes, and instead of using one of the candle stickers, I'm going to bring in some things from the Broadway Bound Suite. We have gold and silver adhesive sticker little candles, so I'm going to go ahead and use one of those. I'm going to use black ink, the Memento Tuxedo Black. I'm going to use a stapler, a large circle punch. The 2 1/4 inch circle punch will work great, and then some extra adhesives, the tear and tape adhesive, of course, the snail adhesive, and I'll probably use my paper snips in here as well. So let's go ahead and start by picturing where this is going to go. So just wrap it around like that, and we can fit a 2 1/4 inch circle there because this is 2 3/4 inches high. If you cut the 5 1/2 inch card down, this is 2 3/4 inches high. So we're going to go ahead and use that white sticker that comes in the kit, and we'll flip our punch over and we'll just punch out a portion of it. If you punch close to an edge, you can use the other portion of your sticker for something else, so save that. And then on top of that little circle, we're going to use the cake. We're going to put a silver candle in there. We're just going to use silver as our metallic accent. And so to do that with our twine, so that we don't have gold in there, I'm not sure how much I'm going to use here. Let's just cut off that much. You can take your twine and you can actually release the gold thread that is on there. So you can just take and pull it straight up and away from your black twine. And you'll notice that I slid them apart this way rather than pulling them that way. It would have really made a mess doing it that way, but now this twine is still intact, and this is a fun little kinked up gold piece of thread that I can use for something else, so set that aside. All right, let's go ahead and mount our stamp. This image says, what does it say? So proud of you. So we're gonna mount it onto our block so that it's slightly curved. That is one of the perks of having photopolymer or totally clear stamps, is you can mount them curved. Yay. So let's see if we can get that on there in the right spot. We're just going to go right over the top of our cake to see if it's situated correctly. Well, it's decent enough anyways. I put some snail adhesive on the back side of my cake, and I mount it onto the front side of my circle. You want to make sure that you peel the backing away so you know which side is the front and which side is the back. And you'll want to leave plenty of room for those candles, but stick this down flat because these candles are going to protrude from the top of the cake. So you want to make sure that they have something to stick to. And we'll start with the middle one. Once that's centered, we can put on the other two. And then we're going to wrap the twine around and tie it. And at this point, I wish I would have had more twine. So I'm going to go ahead and just tie this in a knot. And then tie it in a bitty bitty bow. My fingers can do it. I know they can. If yours can't, you'll want to have more than what I did. And I think I had, let's see here, 3, 6, about 12 inches. So you'll want to have a little bit more than 12 in order to wrap and tie. And then you'll just curve it to adjust the bow. And then we're going to go ahead and stick this down on the front here, about 1 inch from the end. And then you'll want to find the center. So if you don't want to count all of those fun little marks on here, you can just take a ruler and find the center point. The center point between 0 and 2 3/4 of an inch would be 1 3/8 of an inch. So it would be right where that white and black line meet up. So if you aim from the corner to that line, or that section, sorry, straight in, and you stop there, and then you line up your scissors and you go from that corner to that same point, nice and straight, you will have the perfect little banner on there. And then when you wrap it around, you can line these two up, and you can do the same thing over here by just following what you cut on the front. Now we're going to take some of that sticky strip and we're going to put some right through the center. And guess what I forgot to do? I forgot to staple. But that baby is stuck down on there. So let's see if we can wrap it around. You know what we'll do? We'll just add some more sticky strip through the middle. I think that's what Sue did on hers anyways. So no staple. I lied. All right, line up the edges so they meet. And press it. And how cute is that? We can shift over this little twine like that. So proud of you. Wouldn't that be fun to give to somebody that you're proud of? Ta-da! All right, third project. I'm going to put together a 12 by 12 scrapbook page spread now. And for that, I'm using 2 sheets, actually 2 and a portion of the Designer Series paper Broadway bound. I've cut one of them with the polka dots into 2 pieces, one that's 5 inches and one that's 7 inches. And then I'm also using another full sheet that I cut into 7 inches and 5 inches. And then I'm going to use a strip of numbers, and I'm cutting out a year from that. I'll need 2 sheets of Whisper White cardstock that are 12 by 12, and I'm also using some of the black satin ribbon. So I'm going to put together some of these things and show you in just a minute what I did. So far I have the 7-inch piece of metallic polka dot paper on this side and this 5-inch on this side of my Whisper White. So I just mounted it on the front side of my Whisper White. I've cut some cardstock from the Broadway bound pack. So these 2 colors come in the set of 3 colors. You get Lemon Lime Twist, plus you get this Melon Mambo, and you get the basic black. And the basic black I have cut to digital size photo mat size. This would be 5.5 by 4 and 1/8. Same thing with this one. And this one I cut so that it was matting a 5 by 7 photo. So it's 5 and 1/8 by 7 and 1/8. I have a strip of the black satin ribbon coming down here that I'm going to attach and stick over the ends and attach and then tie on the top of the bottom, not sure yet. I have one of the marquees down here. I'm going to put the word year on there, and I have a little cake. And these are going to be lifted up with dimensionals so that they pop out a little bit more. On the other page, I have some letters that I cut out of that strip from that designer paper. So I have the year 2019 on there, another photo mat that's true digital size, the 5-inch piece, the 7-inch wide piece, another strip of the satin ribbon, the marquee that does not have the little dots going around it, and then these are all 5.5 by 3 and 5/8 inches. So they're slightly skinnier so that I could fit 3 on there. I'm going to go ahead and stick those down with my snail adhesive and dimensionals, and then I'll show you the next step. So I had this clever idea after sticking my satin ribbon down with adhesive that I wanted to tie a little twine down here. And when I cinched it, I realized I had the seam of where the 2 designer papers meet exposed. So I'm going to shift my little knot of my twine over to the left side here. And that way when I tie the bow, hopefully it will do some concealing, we'll call it. So we're going to pray that it conceals on that side. Oops, we've got to turn it this way. Ribbons have a mind of their own. Okay, there. So I've got my twine on that side, and I did the same thing over here at the top. So I have 2 cinched ribbons with a little bit of gold and black twine on them. You can see I've already cut out and stuck on my numbers for my marquee here. I've got a little balloon sticking behind it. That I'll just pop up, put some dimensionals on the top, and stick that here on that side of the left paper. But now we need to work on the word year. And we wouldn't really need to if we wanted to make this like maybe a New Year's Eve page layout. Let me zoom out here. If we wanted to make it a New Year's Eve page layout, but I thought, well, wouldn't it be fun to just kind of have, I don't know, a celebratory of the whole year? So I'm going to take the word hooray, and I'm going to cut off the O-R-A-Y, and I'm going to form the Y-E-A-R, year word, with those letters. So the O is going to become an E. Now I haven't stuck them completely down yet, but you can see that they fit pretty decent on there. So the R is a little funny, but that's okay. And then I have room for a cake down here. And so I think what I'm going to do is I'm going to put the photo mat on this page. So I'm just going to tilt these two and stick a little balloon back there. It's time to pull out that embossing buddy again because we have stickiness on the back of the balloon, and I don't want that to be an issue when the page is done. So we'll just put some embossing buddy powder on the back side so now it's not sticky anymore. And then we'll add a dimensional. And we'll pull off the backings and we'll stick this down on the upper left of our page layout. I think I'm going to have it overlap the top edge of the photo just a little bit. Like that. And then the last part is adding this piece, and I didn't tilt the cake. I liked it straight on because the word year, the R is so small that I thought it kind of balanced it out to just have it right underneath nice and straight. So again, let's use that embossing buddy and take away the stickiness. Oops, can't see what I'm doing there. Take away the stickiness of the little balloon area and put some dimensionals back there and stick it on. And because this cake was already up on dimensionals, I needed to have these pieces down here doubly high. And we're going to have that overlap the bottom portion of this photo mat. But of course not touching it because you want to be able to slip your photo underneath there. So there, now we have our layout done. Let me zoom out so you can see. And ta-da! And I figure if anyone wants to add journaling to the page, they can then, you know, put a little white piece of cardstock here, or they can type it out on the computer and add it. But it gives you room for a little bit more for the journaling for the 2 pages. So there we go, 2019 year. Next project. This next project is another scrapbook page, but this is a photo pocket page done with our Memories and More products. This is one of our pocket pages for that, and we'll be using from the kit one of the card bases with the green. We'll be using the HOHOHO because we already cut one away, and I had a couple others because I'm going to show you some fun other creative words that you can do. So you'll want to grab those from 3 of your hoorays. You're going to be using an envelope, some black cardstock, and then the self-adhesive gold sequins in the kit. It's going to be a very simple Christmas page layout. The photo mat pieces that I cut for the black, the black mat pieces are 6x4 and 4x3 so that they can fit into the pocket. So let's go ahead and open up this envelope real carefully. And we'll just want to trim right down that seam, and then we're also going to trim here. Let's not trim right on the seam though, because sometimes that creates some fraying, but let's just trim a little bit on this side of it. And we'll just slice there. We can use this. And then because our black piece is 4x6, we want to make this, which is already 5 3/4 long, we want to make it just a little bit around the 3 3/4 size so that it will mount onto our black cardstock really nice, like that. And then our card piece here, we're going to trim in half, which I've already done. I had another piece that I used for my exclusive projects that I shared with my subscribers. But we're going to go ahead and angle cut this. So I want to go from about 1 inch from the upper left corner to about 1 inch from the lower right corner. And we're just going to slice. So this piece is going to be mounted onto here. And then we're going to have another piece with a triangle and with a larger triangle. So let me see how I can do this here. Make it the easiest. I think I want one triangle to be about 2 inches wide, maybe a little bit bigger. We'll try there. So I'm going to trim this one at, so that this size here is about 2 1/4 inches. And what I'm creating here is the base of 2 more little triangles, and I can actually probably get one this way, and then whatever is left over here can be another triangle, and I could actually get 3 triangles if I really wanted to. So I've placed that piece in my trimmer so that I have the base of it, the 2 1/4 inch wide base, and your base could be any size really, but let's say it's 2 1/2 or whatever. You just want to have that base up there and then cut that amount in half. So if mine is 2 1/4 inches wide and I've got it right up against here with that corner there and the other edge right here, then I know that half of that would be 1 1/8, which would be right here. So if I trim from there to there and there to there, I'm going to get an equilateral triangle. I also want to make sure that it will fit in my 3-inch tall window, and this definitely will because here's 3 inches. So I'll have a little bit of room above the tree. Whatever is left over on this side, I can also trim to a triangle, but let's go ahead and just start with this. So there's my mark, and I'm going to go to there. Okay, so there's one of our little trees, and the other one doesn't look too, it looks like it's pretty equilateral already. Wow, well let's just go with that. But if we had to do another one out of this and it wasn't, then again you would just take the base and put it up there, figure out how big that is, and then mark halfway on the opposite side so that you can trim that up correctly. And we do actually have another piece here, so if we want to play around with that, let's just do this really quick. Let's make our base 1 3/4 inches wide, okay? So let's go ahead and trim that straight, and now we have a base. Let's go ahead and trim this off a little bit here too, so it's something to go up against. So if this is 1 3/4 inches wide, half of that is 7/8 of an inch. So we would want to mark it right to there. So if we go from here down and there down, then we could get an equilateral triangle again. I love math. I'm such a math nerd. Okay, now that side here has a little bit of an edge, so we would just take, and you could use really, really straight scissors, but I'm just gonna eyeball it and angle right up to that. So now I have another tree. So I've got a few trees here. Now I could have also trimmed off the top and the bottom of this envelope that I cut, but I thought I like how high it is and I didn't want to fray the edges by cutting right on the seam. So I stuck on one of the HOs. I'm going to mount this here so you can see, and then we're going to put the other one, the other two, one above and one below. So speaking of all these fun words that you can make with the word hooray, I went on the internet and I just found a Scrabble site and I put in the letters, but I also put in letters like, this could look like an F, a capital F. You could cut that out and make it look like an E, as I shared with you on the word year. And so I put in different letters that could be created with this word, and I came up with a whole list. So these are the words that I found by researching on the internet. Hooray, yay, amour means love in French. Home, ahoy, which would be great with, I think it was the April Paper Pumpkin kit with the nautical theme. More, your, rah, like cheering, rah, rah. Me, my, year, oh joy, hey, and ho, ho, ho. Let's finish up this page and see what it turns out to look like. So my original plan was just to have one single tree on black cardstock like this and decorate it up. But when I was able to cut out a third tree, I decided that I was going to have that one be behind this one. And same thing here. So we're going to mount these up on dimensionals, make these pop out a bit. And then I'm going to add a few sequins, self-adhesive sequins, to make this be the main tree. And of course we have the ho, ho, ho. So I'm going to go ahead and do that, and then I'll show you the finished page. So now I just need you to imagine that all the red pieces of cardstock that are already in the pockets are where photos would go. I chose red. I could have done the Melon Mambo, which is also in the kit, but I thought red and green is much more Christmassy. And then this piece would get tucked in here. And then this piece would get tucked in here, like this. But I'm not going to tuck them all the way in because I want you to be able to see the shine a little bit. But that's where they would go. And then you'd put photos in these and you'd have a finished, fun little Christmas layout. All right, I have more. I just have a few more cards left to share, some alternate cards. I have a Whisper White cardstock that's been cut in half and folded in half for a card base. And then I'm taking scraps from the kit. So I have this scrap that I'm going to flip over and put onto our silicone mat. And I'm going to squeeze out some of our green capped glue, also known as the multi-purpose liquid glue. And I'm just going to put a little squiggle of that on there. And then I'm going to take a section of a sponge and just pounce up and down to spread that adhesive on the back side of the sponge. Next, I'm just going to kind of sponge it along the back side of this piece here. It's a quick and easy way to get adhesive on little tiny narrow pieces like that. And we're using grid paper, of course, to protect our work surface. And now I'm going to adhere it to the card front so that the bottom and the top edges are parallel to the bottom and top edges of my card. And just press it down. So let's go ahead and stamp first. And we'll use the lovely lipstick ink that comes in the kit. And we'll put our congrats at the very top left, right above the black area. And then we'll use the little star embellishment. And we're going to put that on either side of where our cake is going to go. And we're going to have a double-decker cake. And that's going to go right about here. So we can lay that down but not adhere it yet. And we'll just stamp near it. Now let's go ahead and make that a double-decker cake. Yum, yum. And we'll just use that little black edging there between them. That is a huge cake. Yum. I think I'm going to add one more of these little sparkles though. There we go. That seems more balanced. Okay, and then we just lift this up with dimensionals. And what a super easy card to make with your scraps, your extra pieces, and just some Whisper White cardstock, and that's it. This card is going to be a fun fold card. So we're going to take an 8.5 by 11 sheet of basic black, and we're going to cut it in half. So we're cutting at the 4 1/4 mark. And then we're going to turn it, and we're going to score. So at 5 1/2 inches, and at 2 3/4 inches. And that will create our Z fold. Next, we're going to take the green banner sticker and we're going to peel that off, and we're going to stick that down so that it is just filling in the space here with a little extra black edging. So now we're going to make a couple duplicate cakes that are this size. And the top portion, do you see how it's scalloped like that? We don't have to worry about that. We're just going to leave that undone, but we're going to at least put it close to the top. So I have this is the leftover from the envelope that we just cut, and we're just going to put our cake towards the top of that. And you can trace with a pencil if you want to. I'm just going to come along with my scissors and cut all the way around, cutting right up to the edge of that cake. And I'm going to do 2 of these. Okay, we're going to set the white ones aside for just a minute, and we're going to look at this cake and we're going to determine where the center of the cake is. So I've already cut this one, but I'm going to show you the tips that I have. You're going to imagine the center of the cake, and you're going to cut from the outside to the inside of that cake. First, you're going to start on the outside this way and go in, because you can go straight in from the side like this, like that. And then you need to come up from the bottom. And you don't want to come straight up the side here, or that piece is going to be way too large. You're going to have like a quarter sheet of cake, a quarter piece of cake for one person. So instead, come over just a tad and slice straight up so that you're parallel to this edge here. You're going to cut straight up, and then from there, you're going to cut from that point to the middle point again, and that's how you get this lovely slice of cake. Now this slice of cake, as you can see, we'll zoom in here, is missing the insides. We need to actually give it an inside portion, and that's where this comes in handy. So we're going to take these pieces now and we're going to form the inside of the cake to fill it up again. So, but don't toss that one if you have a clean one, because you're going to need lots of cake for this card. All right, so what we'll do next is we'll just hold it on top of it so everything's lined up. And again, this is why you didn't have to worry about the back not going right up to the top, because we're not going to see that anyways. So now this line here needs to be parallel with this line down here. So we're going to slice from this edge, and we're going to slice so that it's going parallel with this line, okay? Then it doesn't really matter where it cuts in from the back, because you're just cutting it away. So now you have your cake that looks like it's got a chunk out of it. We just have to stamp a few lines in the middle there. And then we have to make an extra little piece here. Now this, we really didn't have to cut it this big, but it's easier for me to explain it to you if we cut it still with the pattern of the cake. So now you have that little piece there on the side, and you're going to trim the top first so that it lines up. And then we're going to cut from that point straight down so it's parallel with the edge here of that part of the cake. This is where math comes in handy. The word parallel. Hopefully you know what that means. Now we just have to cut the bottom so that this line right here is parallel with this here. You're creating dimension. This is so awesome. There we go. Now we have our slice of cake that has been pulled out of that big cake right there. We have one more step for making our cake pieces look complete. And we're going to take this image from the set, ink that up with our lipstick, our lovely lipstick ink. And for this one, we want to follow this bottom line and make the lines from this cake image parallel with that. So whatever we see here, in fact, maybe we can place it on top of this so that you can see that black line there. So there's the black line. And now we're going to take and stamp the lines of the cake parallel to that. Like that. And then for this piece, we're going to stamp parallel to this bottom edge, because remember, this is the way it lays on top. So we want to stamp parallel to that bottom edge. So we'll just position it so that it's on the black line going this way. And we want to make sure that those pieces that are on the side of our stamp image do not get on this left edge over here. Okay, let's see what we got. It looks funny right now, but it's going to work. So there's one slice of cake. Let's move this grid paper out of the way. You can see it better against a dark background. There's one slice cut out of our cake. That looks like this. So I've popped this cake up on dimensionals, and when you fold it, you can see it overlaps the green somewhat. So it's overlapping this cake when you open it up. Thought that was kind of fun. And then we'll do the same thing. We'll put a couple dimensionals on this one slice, and that will have some dimension to it that way too. And then across here, we're gonna have it say, yay, cake. And we're just gonna use our creative cutting with our letters to do that. I've already cut most of them. Let me just finish up the A here. So hopefully you can see where all those letters came from. We have the E from the O. The K is going to be made up of this piece and that piece from the H. And then we have an E from an O. I'm sorry, a C and an E also from the O's. And then of course we have the A. And I felt like it needed just a little something more, so I wrapped some of the black and gold twine through the middle there. So it just adds a little fun embellishment. I love this card. It's fun. Okay, the last thing that I wanted to share is just if you run out of supplies in the paper pumpkin kit, just know that there is a whole suite of products in our catalog, and you can take a card that you made with elements of the paper pumpkin kit and do something pretty darn similar using the elements from that suite. Now that you've watched my video, I hope you can see that there is so much more to these kits than meets the eye. Never tried paper pumpkin? In the US, the kits are just $19.95 plus tax, and there's no commitment, so you can stop your subscription at any time. I hope you gained some new ideas from what I've shared. Thank you for watching. It builds creativity to think outside the box. Be sure to subscribe to my YouTube channel so that you can catch more paper pumpkin videos that I've shared using past kits and more that I'll share with future kits. Also, be sure to visit my website at stampyourartout.com so that you can view close-up photos of all of these projects, see photos of other paper pumpkin kit ideas, and see many other great ideas that I share using Stampin' Up! Products. If you're watching my video on YouTube, look for links in my description below. And to receive some extra exclusive paper pumpkin project ideas, get your subscription started with me as your demonstrator. I hope you enjoyed this video tutorial. Now I'd like you all to go and stamp your art out. Bye-bye.